So I've wanted to compare film and digital for a long time. So I went out with my friend Elly and we did some shooting there with the different cameras. It's the first time I've kind of compared them side by side. And for my film setup, I was shooting on Portra 400, rated at 160 on a Canon Eos 1N and Sigma 50 and 85mm lenses. And my digital setup, I was shooting on my Sony A7rV in compressed RAW, same lenses. And I just wanted to kind of see how they handled color and pretty much hard light, backlight, and those type of things, those highlights. I wanted to see where the magic was, because people always talked about this magic of the film process, and I think I really want to see that. So here's some photos I took. This first one, you can really see kind of where film shines, and for me, it's in the way that it handles the highlight roll-off. I think highlight roll-off is always a key. Obviously, you can kind of do that with curves on your digital camera, but it's never quite the same. And I think the way that the light kind of, it just smears across the image, it smears in the highlights, and it gives this creaminess in the tones that's slightly different to digital. I think it's not quite replicable. I think it's not quite the same. I think still film has that little bit of an edge. Despite the amount of film emulation and grain plugins I've used, my digital photos still never look quite the same as the real thing. Obviously, one of the main differences is the sharpness of the image, and obviously I feel like film is softer, but not in a bad way. It's obviously a little bit more organic, and you know, these lenses are really sharp, and historically the lenses are kind of what created the image when it came to film photography. So these Sigma lenses have a very particular look, and I think they match really well shooting on 35mm. So maybe the aim with digital photography isn't to replicate film exactly. Maybe the aim is to create a unique, separate look which borrows the attributes of film photography but makes a unique and new look. So I wanted to talk about my favorite presets, and I'm not sponsored by this person at all. I just love these presets. It's called Rebecca Lilly presets, and the reason why I love these presets so much is that they are so subtle in their approach to tone and exposure and curves. So a lot of presets push things really crazily, but with these presets, I feel like they just nuance the tones. And I really think that when it comes to editing photos, a lot of the time, less is more. And there's still a lot happening in these presets. There's a lot of changes in hues. There's a lot of movement of the exposure and the curves, processing the blacks and the fading of blacks in a way which is really filmic, but also unique and different. And I feel like when it comes to editing photos, this is kind of digital strength, and this is kind of a look which is so different and unique from just normal digital photography, but also really desirable and emulating some of those attributes of film which make it so good. Whether it's highlight roll off, whether it's the way the blacks fade, it just looks very natural. And I'm personally a massive fan of these plugins, so definitely check them out. So I think everyone wants to choose between film and digital as if one's better than the other. I just think they're different. And I think that film just has a lot of nostalgia. Obviously it has a lot of history behind it, and it's really important as a filmmaker, as a photographer, to kind of shoot that way so you can understand the different looks that have historically created the imagery that we see today. And particularly with filmmaking, I think a lot of those techniques are lost, where it's pushing or pulling film stocks, bleach bypass or overexposing, and just the graininess and grittiness of an image. It's never quite the same with digital. That's what I've found. You know, when I think of like the great directors now, whether it's Nolan, Scorsese, Tarantino, Spielberg, they all still prefer shooting film, and they go back to film whenever they can. And I think that shows something about it, that it is important, that it is something that as a filmmaker and someone who's supposedly an artistic person, I need to really think about that. If these people value it, I should value it too, and I need to learn how to shoot on it. So that's one of the main reasons why I still shoot on film. And also I just love it so much. It's so rewarding, and I think I'm excited for the shots I'm gonna get in the future. So